Welcome to today's City Council meeting, today, Monday, November 13th, 2023. I now call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey.
Present.
District 2, Councilmember Vieira.
Present.
District 4, Councilmember Martinez.
Present.
District 3, Vice Mayor Silvera.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. And please stand for the invocation by Gianosa, Big Valley Grace, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, sir.
Being right before us from a passage in Thessalonians, and it says this. It says, pray continually and always give thanks in everything. Let's do that. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the city that we get to live in. Thank you for each person who does such a great part and gives so much of their life to the city and the work of it. Thank you for those that put themselves in harm's way, for those that come to the aid of others, for those that take care of the things that we don't want to take care of, like sanitation and other things in our city. I'm grateful to be able to live in a country like this, city like this, and father a place that we can call home. So bless the men and women that are here today, those that aren't, as they look after our city and create a place that we can, like I said, call home. So we thank you for that. And may you give them great wisdom and understanding and discernment. Lord, may you help them to make the decisions that are absolutely best for people, not agendas, but people, as they look out for those that are in the greatest of needs. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Today, we have two proclamations. I'm going to do the lung proclamation first. The recipients will receive this in the email, and then we will go to the small business. Declaring November 2023 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas in the United States, lung cancer is the second most common cancer in both men and women. It is the leading cause of death from cancer. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates lung cancer makes up to 238 and 3,400,000 new cases and approximately 127,000 deaths in the United States for 2023. And whereas screening tests for lung cancer, such as low-dose computed tomography, LDCT, have been proven to significantly reduce lung cancer mortality in those at risk by at least 20%. And whereas screening utilization rates remain low at 6%, but increased awareness of the axis of prevention and early detection can save lives. And whereas funding for lung cancer research trails far behind research funding for many other cancers, and additional research is needed in early diagnosis, screening, and treatment. And whereas Lung Cancer Awareness Month is observed annually in the month of November to heighten awareness of these and diseases and bring attention to the need for additional research. Therefore, I, Javier Lopez, Mayor of the City of Ceres, on behalf of the City Council, Vice Mayor Brett Silvera, Councilmember James Casey, Rosalinda L. Vieira, and Daniel A. Martinez, do hereby declare the month of November 2023 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Ceres, and invite all citizens to learn about lung cancer and early detection through lung cancer screening. And if now the entire City Council could please join me out front, and we'll be declaring today Small Business Saturday, and Brandy Meyer will be accepting this. Declaring November 25th, 2023 as Small Business Saturday. Small Business Saturday was first observed on November 27, 2010, as a day designated for promoting small, locally owned, independent small businesses for shoppers and consumers during the holiday season. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Whereas according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are nearly 32 million independent businesses throughout the nation. And whereas serious community and small business owners are pivotal to our city's economic future as the drivers of innovation and job creation, and represent a very enhanced end of the American dream. Whereas it is important to support Ceres' value small business by creating jobs, boost in local economy, and preserve the community. Therefore, I, Javier Lopez, Mayor of the City of Ceres, on behalf of the City Council, Vice Mayor Brett Silvera, Councilmember James Casey, Rosalinda L. Vieira, and Daniel A. Martinez, do hereby declare Saturday, November 25th, 2023, as Small Business Saturday in the City of Ceres, and urge all residents in our community to support small business and merchants. Congratulations. You almost figured out, I guess.
Thank you very much for the proclamation. Just a quick little note. The Ceres Chamber of Commerce has gone down to some of the downtown businesses and discussed doing some sort of offers or special promotions during Small Business Saturday. And so far, we have 4 small businesses that are on board. Bishop's Coffee, Ceres Drugstore, Loza's, the Chamber of Commerce. So we are going to be working for the next week, talking to some of the businesses. So if anybody has the opportunity to go down there on November 25th, which is Small Business Saturday, help promote our small business, we would really appreciate it. And we would like to fill up our downtown and use what's there. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move on to citizens' communications. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution 2007-106 for expression of non-agenda items. Matters in the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may address the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking any action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda items subject to the 5-minute provision. Anyone wishing to address the City Council must adhere to the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted outside the chambers. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to make a comment? The public period is now open, but we actually have some yellow cards, so I will go out to the public as soon as I read these yellow cards. There's quite a few, so please be patient. We'll start off with Sophia.
Evening. I didn't realize I'm the first one. So I'm a little bit nervous.
Yes, you are the
Yeah.
first.
So my name is Sophia Toys. I'm the owner of
Make
Hollywood
sure the
Hair,
timer is up, Christina.
Hollywood Hairs and Series on Morgan and Service. So I noticed that there's a new median road that just done starting in October, and it's kind of affects my business. And I want to know if the city would like to help, at least make any road to go into the business without have to go all the way to make a U-turn. And I thought that's really helpful for small business like me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person is Manny.
Good evening. I'm the owner of Magic Mark with my partner Fidel Ali at Morgan and Service. And I'm here because of where she was just talked about that median that was done in October. And since that median was installed, it's been like affecting our businesses. And I would like to see if we could get like access or get it removed, like she said.
Thank you very much. Manny, is there something that you have for us here? The city clerk will accept whatever you have there. So, Sir Manny, could you please step back up? I just want to make sure, I want to ask you one question. What you just gave her are petitions?
Yeah, petitions
Okay.
from the neighbors, they signed it, they.
Okay.
They oppose it.
And how many petitions are
I
there?
have over, I think over 500 signatures.
Over 500 signatures?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much, Manny. Thank you. The next person is Tom.
I'm Tom Mitsopoulos. I want the property 3900 Morgan Road, the little strip center. And also the 3 acres land between the quick stop and the church. I want this property for 1994. All these years, I tried to develop my property, built in something. The city plans, they give me difficult times because there are some very specific I can build there. Anyway, we came to the point now to do mixed use, and I was ready to develop. And they had a hard time about the in and outs, and they was not proving me. Now, they're closing my left turn from Morgan Road into the center. All my tenants are very upset. My property, maybe I can develop if I close my in and out from Morgan Road. And very soon, the things are gonna close from Service Road, the exit. That's gonna make it very difficult for my property. When I ask them to give left turn from Morgan to going into my shop center, benefits all my tenants. I'd be happy just to have the left turn. If they're coming out my property, go towards the Whitmore, that's the only right, that's good enough. I don't expect to go left. That's, I can develop my property and I'll be success. So I don't sound like a man, but I need to dissolve this problem before we go further. If you have to go further, I will go. I'm asking a nice way to be fair for my properties too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Next person is Angie. Next person is Angie.
I'm not here for the Morgan Road area. I live on Blaker Kinzer, and I'm here to discuss the traffic and the speeding and the racing down my street, or residential area right by the school. I've called the police department and left messages with the officer I was told to talk to, and I've never gotten responses back. I don't know what do I do next to get my community to be safe over there again?
You didn't put your phone number on here, but I'll have Christina take your information down
Okay.
to make sure that we contact you.
All right.
I apologize. For the record, could we get your name?
It's Angie. It's on here. I just have no phone number.
You can put it on the record.
Oh, yeah, what was your last, what was your
Riley.
first and last name?
Angie Riley.
Okay,
I think I
thank you.
put both of them on.
Yes, you did. You mind passing this to? Thank you very much. Now we have Shawana Moore. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly.
Hi, I'm Shauna Moore. I'm a member of the Cities Series, a volunteer. I just wanted to be able to speak. There's a little rumor going around about the Hometown Heroes program. I just want to say that I support the Hometown Heroes program. As a veteran, as a volunteer in our community, as someone who has served, I think that that program is a wonderful recognition of the veterans in our community and also those who volunteer in our community. This year, one of our banners that are up happen to belong to the series, our current commander, Yolanda Whitted. She lives in Merced, but she volunteers all her time here. She's our post commander. She volunteers, she does highway cleanup, you name it. So I was wondering, maybe you can put forth an amendment that could go into the reading of who is eligible for the Hometown Heroes banner, so that those who volunteer their time and are current members of post and give all their time to the community, that they can be recognized. I don't see why I had to hear negative things about her banner being up As a fellow veteran, as a woman, as a volunteer in this community, I work very hard and I just want to be here to support her. I think that any negativity that I've heard is absolutely wrong, so I just wanted to be here to support her, and she's not here this evening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next person, we have Violet. Can you please pronounce your first and last name? I didn't want to.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Violet Save.
Survey.
First, I would like to thank all of you guys tonight. I want to thank every single one of you guys for all your hard work and effort. And I know a lot goes behind the closed doors with each and every one of you guys. As a small business owner here in Ceres, I've been here for 16 years and I still want to continue to move forward. And I can't tell you guys how important it is to be a small business here in City of Ceres and how many people we draw into this small town from out of the areas. Just for the little things that we sell and we provide to the community that McDonald's or any other big company or franchises don't have to offer. So tonight, I want you guys to please keep your minds open and kind of look at it this way, how unique a small business can be and how much hard work of labor and sweat goes into having a small business. Some of us have children that we leave behind and we employ young teenagers from here, the Ceres High, Central Valley, just to give them some extra work to do in the summer or now winter time, an opportunity to just kind of keep them out of trouble as well and to get them developed for coming for the near future. My concern here tonight is kindness, okay? We're a small community here and it's just very disappointing to see how there's certain individuals, okay, that can hear me right now tonight, that have to go out of their way, whether it's Labor Day, Memorial Day, okay? You could be barbecuing with your family. You could be doing something else to celebrate United States of America. Take the day off, okay? Instead, we're having citizens come out, take photos of employees who are minor, okay? And for absolutely no cause or reasoning, okay? When are we gonna stop this type of behavior, City Council? This is my very big concern. We've had employees who want to quit on us because they feel awkward, they feel some type of way that their pictures are being taken for absolutely no reason. For absolutely no reason. And imagine if that was your son or daughter working and their photos are being taken for absolutely nothing. There was no emergency phone call made. There's no accident, nothing. It's disturbing. It's disturbing these minors' piece of work ethic and them working in a peaceful environment. And as a small business owner, I would encourage you guys to please consider this very, very important. This is called an harassment and it's uncalled for, very unprofessional. My other concern is banners or A-sign frames. Really, come on, times are hard right now. You all know what's going on around the world. What do you guys want a small business? How do you guys want a small business to advertise? You have McDonald's putting up banners, their flags about their drinks and their promos, whatever they have going on. You have all these other franchises having little A-frames going up left and right. Why are certain businesses being singled out? So to end this speech tonight, I want to address one word. I'm going to read this to you guys. It's called the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. That's the definition of kindness. Folks, let's be a little bit more kind to one another. And guess what? We can make this community be bigger than it's ever been, and we can achieve more than you guys can imagine, instead of just trying to go against one another. We're a bunch of adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Violet. Violet, I'll send this over to the captain so he can reach out to you about your inquiries, okay? Pass this down to the captain, please. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to make a comment? Please step up to the podium. You want to add something else? Your public period comment was, has already been, you've already actually spoken, sir, so no, unfortunately, you cannot. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. Happy Kindness Day. My name is Virginia Huitron. I am a resident here in Ceres. I've been a resident all my life, except for just under 1 year where I left the state and then I came back because I love it here. I have raised my family here. I have been raised here myself. I have supported small businesses in the area, including the businesses that are on the corner of Morgan and Service. Kitty Kingdom is my firstborn. They were easy to get to. I know the people that work at the gas station. I trust them with my children being able to walk there. These are all small businesses that have built a community, not just a business. As we all know, small businesses are the backbones of communities. We just said it at the beginning of the meeting, right? Of course, you know that I'm here to talk about the median that is on Morgan Road. Other people have talked as business owners about this median, but I'm talking to you as a citizen about this median. It's difficult to get into the Quick Stop Center now. There have been comments made, why don't you just do a U-turn? Why don't you just take a left and then take the other entrance? But as residents of Ceres, you guys know how traffic is in the morning. You're trying to make a left turn and then everybody else is trying to go westbound on Service. So there's really no way to get in there. People are just instinctively going to take a right. We all know that taking a right is an easier way to get somewhere. People are instinctively going to take a right to go into the new business. I'm not saying that the new business is a bad business. I'm glad for the growth. But it does feel like we are kind of being steered towards one business rather than to another. We have a growing economy and more entrepreneurs coming into the Quick Stop Center. You have some of them here. We just recently started going to visit Blanca at Kickoff Nutrition, which is brand baby new, but it's a great business. And I would hate to see that new business not thrive because of accessibility. But yeah, that's why I'm here. And yeah, I'm glad somebody said something about kindness. I just think that's always the best policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Please step up and make a comment.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, honored guests. My name is Pete Samaniego. I'm a past post commander, district commander for the 12th District of the American Legions. This banner issue that we have with among us here in town, I think is far-fetched. I think there should have been a reasoning why we allow people from outside our geographical zip code area come into the area with their photos. We have a committee, and when the committee was granted, they were granted the right with a vote within the vote to either allow or not allow. And at that time, it was voted, majority vote was voted not to allow any veterans. I'll just keep this within city limits. By the mayor or city manager, whoever make the decision to go above the council's suggestion and vote, all you did was create animosity among us veterans. We don't want that. that was the case, we should, any veteran may submit their application. As far as first responders, well, I know we have veterans that are firemen, policemen that live outside our area. But if that's the reason, they should also be permitted to hang their banner up on our streets. So by someone in the council going outside and saying that myself and another member in the committee authorized this by speaking with us, that's very untrue. We have some facts to say, come out and say it to our faces. Don't be using our names to credit this person. That is what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Sir, Warren, there's actually somebody in front of you who's been waiting patiently. Thank you.
Each 101. My name's David Bridges. I've been here almost 35 years. The Morgan and San Pedro area, basically a speedway. My neighbor, for the third time in the last 35 years, had his house hit a few nights ago. The car went into his house this time. We need a stop sign at Morgan and San Pedro. We've been asking for it for years and years and years. We haven't seen it. That's all I got to say. I just wish before I go that we get a stop sign there so somebody doesn't die in that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next person, please.
Good evening, Council. John Moore, City of Ceres. To kind of follow up on what Pete was just up here discussing about the Banner Committee. The Banner Committee was formed to make suggestions to the City Council, and a set of rules was submitted as to how the Banner program would be established and operated within the City of Ceres. And I believe the applicants and or the residents of the city, if the veteran was a resident, they could make application. And if the applicant was a resident and their family member was a veteran, they could make applicant. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that the Ceres School District zip code areas were the boundaries that was established. And the council accepted that when Joey brought the matter up from our committee meetings. And so those were the rules. Okay. And if we're not going to follow rules that were established and accepted, then the public should be notified of what's going to take place. Right now, as it stands, because of what just recently happened and has been alluded to, any veteran in the state of California can make application to the City of Ceres and have their banner posted in this city for recognition. Because what you do for one person, you have to do for all. And I remember the city attorney mentioning that not too long ago when it came to the Zoom application. If you allow one person to speak, you have to allow everyone to speak. So what has happened is this city has allowed itself to be open for every member of the state of California or the United States to post their military banner in our city and have the city pay for that by whatever means the city is going to establish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to step up? Go ahead, sir.
My name is Freddie Morales. First off, I want to say it was a pleasure working with Joey when we started the Banner Committee. He gave us good leadership. Then this year comes around and out of thin air, I found out by accident that Yolanda, that Ghana mentioned, got a banner, and it was the first time I heard about it. We never saw the application. We never were allowed to vote. It was done outside the committee. So if that's what the city chooses, there's no need for a committee. We tried to do our best to make a suggestion as far as boundaries and who's eligible. But if the city is going to decide on their own and not go by what we say, there's no longer a need for a committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? So you dropped something, sir. Does anybody else would like to speak?
I don't really have anything to complain about, but Thursday night, my wife and I sponsor a Thanksgiving dinner here at the community center, and we get between 300 and 400 people. If anybody'd like to come out and help out, we greatly appreciate it. They can, if you know somebody that needs to come, they can go to Center for Human Services and get ticket or whatever they're going to do, put the name on a list and come down. So anyway, that's what we have Thursday night. Thank the city for donating the facility to have this dinner.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it. Yeah, is this Thursday, right, Shane? Couple of days? Okay, I think that's a yes. The next person, anybody else would like to speak?
Uniquely serious. I want to commend all these people behind me. We hardly see that many people here. I've done this before, but you guys make up the city. And when you don't participate, these people up here are making judgments on your behalf because you don't have a voice. Try to come as often as you can so your voice will be heard. As the other gentleman from the committee here for the Veterans Banner Committee, I think they've said it enough, but they couldn't go without saying something. What a disservice, you know, it's disgusting. These things that go on behind doors or whatever you want to call it, are they true? Are they false? I don't know. It's all hearsay most of the time. And it travels very fast, just like looking at the internet, you know, you believe it or you don't. But if this is true, if you don't take that down after you gave us permission to go through these things and set up a standard to go by, it's just useless, you know? Let's just forget about it tonight. And if you take it down, you're paying respect to the veterans that help organize this, and Joey too. I know he's very upset about this, and I don't blame him one bit. Just like the other gentleman said, Joey's done a fine job. I mean, couldn't be any better. And some people, something have thrown up something in the fix there and discredited the veterans on what they've kind of built here at the beginning. What a disgrace. And there's some people right here that are veterans, man. What about them? How do they feel? They can't talk because they work for the city. You can't talk when you work for this. On another note, I'd like to know from the last council meeting if there's anything done about funding for the police department for traffic control. Just about every day you can go out here. I don't think there's an individual here that hasn't almost been hit from somebody running a stop sign, especially on the right-hand turns and on the stop signs going right through them. It's massive. There's all kinds of stuff going. And, you know, Lieutenant Perry, how many accidents they had from the beginning of the year till now from people running stop signs? I'd be interested in that too. That's pretty much all I have to say. I just, you know, hey, when these things come up, address it. You know, let the people, the people in Ceres do not get notified when things happen. You know, We want to hear things. Oh, yeah, we'll take your name down and stuff like that. I think the public needs to know some of the things that go on too, but it's like nothing's said. Thank you.
Next person. Unfortunately, if you already spoken, you can't speak again. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Okay. Is there anybody in the emails? Okay, before we go on to emails, we obviously receiving the over 500 petitions. City manager and staff have actually been working on solutions within the last 3 weeks, and they do have some answers. So what I'll do is I'll have the city manager reach out and try to provide everybody additional information, which is some of the details that you may not have currently, which there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things that I believe that you guys should be brought to your attention. So I'll make sure the city manager does that. And we have all your information. So unless you didn't put your phone number on here, afterwards, if you could put your contact information, I'm not too sure if the petitions have phone numbers on them or not, but he can decide how they're going to meet. So just know that we are working on something. You are not being ignored. I don't want that to be a misconception. Thank you. Go ahead and go for the emails.
First email we received was from David Bridges. Hi, I spoke with Councilwoman Vieira and was asked to send this for public comments for this Monday's city council meeting. Here's the email I sent to Rosalinda Vieira. Hi, Councilwoman Vieira. I hope you had a happy Halloween. My neighbor and friend of almost 35 years had a visitor last night. It came through his backyard at such a high rate of speed. The car impaled his house, hitting the master bedroom. The passenger got out of the car and immediately fell into his pool. Karma. Luckily, there were no injuries. Just shaken and thankful to be alive. And to think almost a year ago, a woman did the same thing, but he was spared because she hit a palm tree. Had that not been there, the driver would have been in my neighbor's backyard also. We have asked for, pleaded for a stop sign there for almost as long as we have lived here. Morgan Road at San Pedro has had many accidents over the years. It is a drag strip between Hackett and Service any hour of the day. Attached is a picture of the accident. I know I'm asking for a Christmas miracle, but something needs to be done before someone is killed by an out-of-control car. Please help us out once again. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day, David. I also sent this email. Hi, I was wrong. That was the third time his house was hit. One of the car occupants tried to run, but my neighbor quickly got him. We have tried everything over the years. They put up speed sensors for a couple weeks, then nothing. That happens every so often. I even suggested the type of speed bumps that fire trucks can fit through, but it was a hindrance to the rest of us. I didn't get anywhere with that idea either. It is dangerous for anyone to walk across Morgan at San Pedro. About the new islands they built near the Quick Stop and New Arco. I bet the Arco owners paid for them. That is also a hindrance to get into the Quick Stop lot. Now we have to make a U-turn. We have even tried to get speed bumps on San Pedro. They answer, we always get all your neighbors to sign a petition, and then they all have to agree to pay for the speed bumps. We already pay taxes for this purpose. I will try to attend the council meeting and I will send an email for public comment. I knew this was a long shot, but it needed to be done. We are tired of not being listened to. Someone at City Hall needs to stand up for everyone's safety. Please put a 4-way stop sign in. Thank you, David. The next email is from Jenny Weiss. Hello, my husband and I have been residents of Ceres for 32 years. We cherish the many years we have of incredible memories, including raising our 2 daughters, participating in and supporting local programs and events. We realize small towns have many challenges, one of them being how best to allocate resources and budgets, knowing that program costs do not align with what is received. However, living in a small town is exactly one of the features of Ceres we like best. It makes the job of the city council more challenging and important, and it is critical that you find ways to balance the resources and to realistically direct funds appropriately. In recent months, we have had several conversations with a very dear friend about the challenging work conditions and underpaid conditions she is experiencing at her public safety dispatcher job for the Ceres Police Department. The excessive hours, non-competitive salary compared to other nearby police departments, and overall stress knowing the work they put put in will never be enough to properly protect our precious community is felt every day. Similar opinions and conditions are present with the police department as well. It is time for the council to take a serious look at what is happening and to find ways to realign the budget. If action is not taken soon, you will lose valuable people who already have one foot out the door. Maintaining proper staffing in public service jobs is critical to safe, secure, and reputable community. There are always places that a budget can be trimmed to beef up the departments that need it most. It takes work and accountability, but it can be done. I guarantee there are jobs in Ceres right now that are redundant, not needed, or not being performed properly. Find them, eliminate them, and move that money to the public service department's budgets. The private sector has figured out how to make it work and be profitable. Now it is time for the public sector to figure it out. And you don't have to be profitable. You just need to break even. We assume each of you wanted to be on the council to make a difference and make Ceres a place people wanted to live. Now put your intentions to work and fix a budget that is not allocated properly. Give the public service employees more money. Show them you want them to stay by paying them a salary they can support themselves and their family on. We look forward to seeing some action and changes. Thank you for communicating our heartfelt concern for some of the best people you have working for you. They should be cherished and treated with the respect they deserve. Respectfully submitted, Gary and Jenny Weiss, proud Ceres residents. The next public comment is from Vanessa Crane. Dear City Board members, I am writing to express my concerns about the recent implementation of medians that block access to the Westwood Village Shopping Center along Morgan Road. While I understand the city's effort to enhance traffic flow and safety, I believe that these medians have unintended consequences for local businesses as well as the daily commute, particularly for students attending school in the morning. Blocking access to business driveways hinders the convenience and accessibility that customers require. This restriction may discourage potential patrons from visiting these establishments, negatively impacting their revenue and overall sustainability. Small businesses are the backbone of our community, and it is crucial to create an environment that supports their success. Furthermore, the medians by design slow down traffic as drivers navigate around them. This not only creates congestion, but also exacerbates the already hectic morning rush. Parents and school buses face increased difficulty in dropping off students promptly, impacting school attendance and punctuality, which is a big concern right now for the Ceres Unified School District. Collaboration between city officials and local business owners can lead to a more balanced approach that fosters economic growth while addressing traffic concerns, but this approach was never taken. I believe that it is crucial for the city board to reevaluate the placement of these medians and explore alternative solutions that address traffic concerns without compromising the accessibility of businesses and the efficient flow of morning school traffic. I appreciate your dedication to our community's welfare and trust that through collaboration with local stakeholders, we can find a solution that optimally balances traffic management, business viability, and the smooth operation of our schools. Thank you for your time, Vanessa Crane, Office Manager, Kitty Kingdom Preschool Center. The next email is from Stephanie Marquez. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make the city meeting tonight about the Morgan Road median. My family of 5 all frequents the businesses in that plaza, and it is difficult to get in due to the median. I have done a U-turn at the stoplight and almost got hit by a car trying to make a right-hand turn. When the median wasn't there, it was easy and convenient to be able to get into the plaza. If the median is there due to safety issues about turning left out of the plaza, then make it leaving the plaza a right-hand turn only. The next email is from Nick Maynard. Good evening, council members. I own a home on San Pedro and frequent the businesses on the corner of Morgan and Service. I've been going to Magic Market for years to get my hair cut from Sophie at Hollywood Hair, and 2 of my children were enrolled and graduated from Kitty Kingdom. The new median that was put in on Morgan makes it impossible to make a left turn into the parking lot when traveling south. I do not recall receiving any letters from the city advising me as a resident that this would be installed and a chance to speak on this matter. Most people in the neighborhood north of Service Road are unhappy with this median. It will make it easy for AMPM to get business from the citizens that would rather make a safer right turn into their parking lot but the businesses that have been operating for years have and will experience a negative impact on their business. For those that still want to spend their hard-earned money at local businesses that they have supported for years, they now need to go to the traffic light and make a risky U-turn to access the driveway to Magic Market, Hollywood Hair, Kitty Kingdom, Quick Stop, etc. Who paid for this median and why was the public not advised that this was being installed? What will it take to get it removed or have another median installed with a turn lane into those existing businesses? I am certain more than a few of the citizens of Ceres would have had something to say looking at the petition that has been signed over the last couple of weeks. Thank you, Nick Maynard, founder, admin of Ceres Community Incident Feed Facebook group. The last email that we got for public comment is from Dennis Brazil, Gustine, California. As you come up on your interview date for the search of city manager, I would like to encourage everyone to reach out to the former city council members and mayors from the list of candidates you have for the city manager. It is crucial you do your due diligence to make sure you have talked to people who have worked with your candidates. It could be the matter of picking the wrong city manager and finding out after the fact that you did not make the right decision and now have to repeat the process all over again. Best of luck in your search for city manager. I would like to thank the council members that took the time to call me back. For the record, I left the mayor 2 voicemail messages and a text message with no response. I guess he's too busy to return calls from the public. Thank you, Dennis Brazil.
That was the last one. Take a deep breath, drink some water. Okay. Public period is now closed. Now we move on to appointments of boards and commissions. Item C is interview process for appointments to the Planning Commission. Christopher Holm, this item is yours. You have a presentation, I believe, or? Okay.
Excuse me. Yes, I have a presentation. We're currently in the midst of recruiting planning commissioner or keeping the existing planning commissioner. We've had 2 applicants so far. We provided instructions on how to apply for the position in the Ceres Courier on November 1st and November 8th. The final filing date is this Wednesday, November 15th, to apply for the position. And the way that we're proposing having this go is to have the city council choose a subcommittee, form an interview panel, and I'm happy to provide assistance and support during questions. Interview would be prior to the city council meeting on December 11th. And at that meeting, the December 11th meeting is when the city council could finalize that decision.
Okay. City Council, I would like to appoint myself and another council member to this commission. Any council members interested? We'll open it to the public first, actually. Anyone from the public who would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, closed. Bring this item back to the City Council. As I was saying, I would like to appoint myself to this commission. Are there any council members that would like to jump on this? Vice Mayor, your button has been pressed.
Just for a change of pace, and I don't think he's done it, could see Daniel Martinez as the second person on that committee.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would be honored to do it. Having previously served as a planning commissioner, I feel like I would be able to benefit from being there, and I'm more than willing to accept that.
Any additional comments from the council members? Looking for a motion?
Move to approve the mayor and council member Martinez as the committee to interview planning commission applicants.
And I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to conflict of interest. Is there anyone on the council that'd like to declare a conflict of interest? Seeing none. Moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be acted upon a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be acted upon by a roll call vote. Is there anyone in the council that'd like a consent item pulled for further discussion? Rosalinda, the floor is yours.
I would like to pull item 9, 11, 12, and 13.
Any members of the public that would like to pull an item on the consent calendar? Yes, sir.
On warrant item number 5.
Any other members of the public would like to pull an item on the consent calendar? Bring this back to the council for a motion.
Make a motion to approve items 1 through 4, 6 through 8, and items 10 of the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Warren, the floor is yours. Item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I have to apologize. I did not have a chance to read the staff notes regarding this matter. So my question is, Monday, November 27th, why does someone want to not have a city council meeting and what the reason is? It's past Thanksgiving. It's the last Monday of the month. And of course, going into December, we're going to only have one council meeting. So minus this one, there's only one other council meeting for the rest of the year. And the council does have a lot of things that they need to probably address. And the general public, from the looks of this audience, has a lot of concerns that they probably want to readdress at the next couple of meetings before the end of the year. So that is my question about why you don't want to have a meeting on November 27th.
Mr. Warren, we have an answer for you.
Mr. Warren, basically the reason why is the city council is conducting city manager interviews all that day. And so they're gonna be starting around 9 o'clock in the morning, going through the entire day, and then to ask them to continue on into the night. It'd be an extremely long day for all of them to do that, to make it happen. So we're asking them to forgo and just do the morning and have a special city councilman for interviewing the city managers.
I see that's council business. It was scheduled on a council meeting day with knowledge that it was going to be that day. I would think that another day would have been selected so the council could do its business on that evening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, John, just so you know, we looked at several different dates, and with everybody included, including the people being interviewed, the firm that we hired, it came down to that day was the only day we could do it. We tried everything we could to avoid that. Thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve number 5 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Motion, please.
Councilmember
Excuse me,
Casey,
take that back. Roll call, please. Okay, pay attention. Roll call,
Councilmember
please.
Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Item number 9. I don't recall who pulled that. Was that you? Vera? Okay. Floor is yours.
I guess my concern was regarding the expense of the truck, where the funding is coming from. And when I looked at the San Joaquin Valley Air Control Board grant, that closed on November 8th, so it wouldn't be possible to get that grant. So I'm just trying to figure out where that money is coming from and why we feel it's necessary at this time.
Good evening, Council. Ms. Vieira, the money is coming from the funds that we have available for car purchase. So the funds are available in the fleet budget. And also the incentive for the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution District. I have the application ready to submit. All I need is a approved resolution from City Council for me to submit that.
Okay, when I looked at the website, it showed that the grants closed November 8th from the email link that I saw. So that grant went, at least from the Clean Air Vehicle Rebate, when I went onto that website. So that's kind of why I was asking that question. And then was that money approved in the budget? Because I don't recall seeing that when I looked at it.
The first question is whether or
Yeah.
not the application that she's referring to,
Yes.
whether or not is the same one she was looking at.
Yes, Mayor. The application, I have to go back and double check my dates. As far as I know, the application was given to me by the grant writer and was ready. I submitted all the information that the grant writer requested. So it was just a matter of us to approve the resolution and send it with the application. But I'll double check the date and get back with Spear on this.
The second question, Ms. Vieira, what was that again?
The-
You remember what she asked?
Yes, the second question, as I stated in the fiscal impact, it said the fleet service and was not included in the fiscal year 24, but the budget amendment for 71,000 for the purchase of this vehicle the funds are available in the fleet funds, which we have enough funding to cover for this vehicle purchase.
So the fleet funds weren't from this year, they're from a prior year?
Yes, we collect funds from various departments for every year, for every car that we have in the fleet service.
Do you have a comment or question, Casey? Your button wasn't pressed, but you have the floor. You have the floor, sir.
So, my question and concern is based on Councilperson Vieira's observation that the grant approval finished November the 8th. Maybe we should table this to make sure that that grant money is available. When I spoke to the city manager this afternoon, I also had concern, but it's an automatic approval. But if her information is correct, and you've submitted all the information to the grant writer, but it hadn't been submitted and approved by November the 8th, maybe we should table this to make sure that that grant money is coming through. That's my observation.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes, sir, you may.
answer that? Mr. Casey, the reason I'm pushing for this vehicle purchase is because the vendor is holding this vehicle for us. Vehicles nowadays are very hard to get by, and I'm afraid if we wait any longer, we might lose this purchase. That's the reason why I'm pushing this.
Mr. Casey? Another question?
Yeah, our dealer in series may only have one truck and they're holding it for you. And my preference, of course, is to purchase the vehicle in series. But the electric vehicle production, my experience in my business, there's plenty of those electric vehicles available. Again, my preference would be, of course, to purchase it through Rush Truck. But if the $20,000 isn't available, I'm not sure that purchasing at Rush Ford, the $20,000 is quite a bit of money. So that's my observation.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, the floor is yours.
So you have the money budgeted for this irregardless of the grant? If you don't get the grant, you still have the money budgeted to buy the truck?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
grant will just offset some of those funds?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the council? I'll take this out to the public. Any members of the public would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring this back to the council for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item number 9.
Second.
Excuse me, roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 3-2.
Moving on to item number 11, Rosalind. Floor is yours.
Sorry, I just wanted to confirm, I guess the cost difference, and think I kind of got my answer regarding the speed. It looks like it is more than about 100 times the speed to keep up with some of the, or 10 times. Okay. So it went from 100 to 1,000 megabytes per second. Okay. So I think that was kind of just my confirmation. And then did we budget the additional cost in the budget to make sure we're not?
Actually, we'll be canceling $200 a month of extra services, so it will
Be a cost savings.
we will save about the $70. So it's generally the same price, but 10 times better.
Any other council members like to make a comment?
Who
Casey, the floor
provides
is
the
yours.
service now?
It's Spectrum Enterprise. We are just looking to upgrade the line we currently have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we take this back to the public. Any members of the public would like to make a comment? Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment and observation would be, does this include funding for Wi-Fi and internet at the American Legion Community Building that the city owns, that we've been talking about since like April or May?
That's a separate issue. It's just a cost savings, but city manager, I know that you had some conversations of trying to get that taken care of as well.
Yes, sir. So basically, no, this is totally separate. This is just getting faster internet over here. Our IT department's already working on that. We're waiting for basically a couple of people to climb up a tower and tell us, how much it's gonna cost them to do the job. That's what we're waiting on right now.
I remember emails back in May that asked, and someone said that they were gonna go out and get some quotes on the cost. And that's like what, over 6 or 7 months ago. How long does it take to get that information and provide?
Sorry,
it?
Mr. Warren, that's not on the agenda
Thank
today,
you.
but
That's just
no, but good question.
observation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other members of the public would like to make a comment? I'll bring this back to council for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item 11 of the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Moving on to item number 12. Floor is yours, Rosalinda.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor. I guess my question was, how did the budget reflect such a significant underestimated of the fund balance of the grant? And why wasn't the budget, at least, or the actuals weren't reflective in the budget where this should have been fixed sooner?
I'll hand this over to the city manager, correct? Or actually you, sir? Okay, you have an answer. Go for it.
This item is related to the following item, number 13. As staff was preparing for that item, we discovered the discrepancy that we're pointing out in item number 12, and we'd like this to be fixed. So that's why we brought it to the council, so that we can amend the budget. That's it.
From my understanding, it's 2 years worth, so was this not caught when we actualized the actual ending budgets, when we developed the new budgets?
This error was not caught at the time, but we're fixing it now.
Or is that a question or are you asking how did we miss $10,000?
Well, I guess that's what I'm like, how do we look at the actuals and not see $35,000? That's, I guess, in my mind, I'm just not understanding how we don't see $35,000 of actual money received, but it's not realized anywhere. And I guess that's kind of where my question is, how do you just misplace $35,000?
It's not money that we receive. It is money that we'd receive through the grant, but this item that we're correcting is actually money that was budgeted to be spent. So we, in essence, last year and the year before, reduced the amount of money that was budgeted to be spent erroneously.
Does that make sense to you? Does it make sense? I think just
Councilmember
for the
Vieira.
sake, go ahead.
So basically, 2 years ago, I believe that at that time, the city manager asked for all the budget to be cut and reduce spending and everything. That at that time, the city manager cut that budget and that line item shouldn't have been cut because we can't reduce the grants. That was repeated again last year because they were still only maintaining, and it was all done by error. So we never got rid of that money. We still have it, but on paper, we cut it. And so now we're trying to correct that error. How it got through, I do not know, except for it went through the city manager 2 years ago, and now it went through last budget year. It also made the cut, which should not have been happening.
So in essence, what you're saying is that whom caught it? Who caught it this time?
Is actually, I think Christopher caught it. That
So
said that
you
we
caught
could
it.
Not have reduced.
You caught it and then you gave him direction to fix it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that makes sense, right? That we're obviously correcting errors that were done by the last city manager. Thank you, Doug, and thank you, Christopher. Casey, you have the floor.
Sure. Several council meetings before, I called on the resolution, I asked for a resolution to have our budgeted audit more timely. And I think this is an example of something. It's not very much, but it's one item misread, erroneously proposed, whatever the problem is. So I think before we move forward, making this change, we need to fast forward. I've spoken to our intern city manager. As a result of personnel changes and stuff, it's nearly impossible to have the audit done by the end of the year as was proposed. But I think that we need to take a look at our budget and see how well we're doing, how many other, there's one error, there's possibly other errors the other way, that we're under budgeted, we're spending money we don't have, not budgeted, so anyway, that's what I think needs to take place. This one and number 12 or whatever's following it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Any additional comments from the council? Take this as a public. Is there any members of the public who would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, I bring this item back for a motion.
Move to approve 12 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes,
Motion carries 3-2.
thank you. Item number 13, Rosalinda, the floor is yours.
Okay, when I looked on the website, it didn't look like this was one of the items that this money can actually be used for. From my understanding is it's supposed to be used to prepare, adopt, and implement plans to streamline housing approvals. So when I went on the website to actually look up what can be approved under SB2, this didn't look like it met the guidelines. So I just want to confirm that that's done, because otherwise we need to figure out where that money's coming from before I will approve this kind of expense.
And who's that would that be? Looking at homes, okay, just want to make sure.
I've confirmed with Department of Housing and Community. The other items that we're spending this grant money on are appropriate for the SB2 grant.
Was that an email, phone call conversation?
Both.
Both, so you have those emails to confirm that they said that you can allocate those funds for this project. Can you please forward that to Councilmember Rosalinda so she can have that information?
Sure.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to do a good job at trying to give you some information, council member. Is there any additional questions by the council?
No, I still having the website up, which I believe I also forwarded both of you last week when I got the agenda. I still don't see it on there. So at this point in time, until I get the documentation, I would not be able to support this kind of funding or expense.
Any other council members have any comments or questions? I take this item back to the public. Is there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, I bring this item back for a motion.
Move to approve number 13 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes,
Motion carries 3-2.
thank you very much. Moving on to public hearing. Item number 14, ordinance amending chapter 10 mobile food vending for motor vehicles of Title 5 business license and regulations of the Ceres Municipal Code to amend mobile food truck regulations. This goes to whom? To you, sir. City Manager, floor is yours.
Mr. Mayor and council members, staff recommends council approve the first reading and introduction of ordinance number 2023, reading by title only, waiving further reading and ordinance of the city of Ceres, amending Title 5 Business Licenses and Regulations, Chapter 10 Mobile Food Vending from Motor Vehicles of the Ceres Municipal Code to amend the regulations related to mobile food vendors. As you recall, back in 2018, food trucks were generally not allowed in Ceres, and city council adopted the ordinance and policies permitting them. And on back in October 8th of 2018, the original section allowed for a trial or pilot period to observe and determine the feasibility of the regulations. The pilot period was extended by council action on August 26, 2019 for 12 months. Due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and staff turnover, the pilot period expiration date passed and the food truck program continued upon or under existing rules. On July 24th, 2023, the city council had their first reading of a proposed ordinance amendment. The council also decided to create a food truck committee to further discuss proposed changes, and the committee met on July 31st and September 12th, 2023. The committee consisted of members of the public and 2 city council members. Staff would like to thank Councilmember Daniel Martinez, who is the chair of the committee, Rosalinda Vieira, council member, Randy Meyer, who's also chamber president, as well as Nelson Gomez and Johnny Garcia for sitting on that committee. After receiving the feedback from the committee, the city council rejected the second reading of the original proposal at the September 25th, 2023 city council meeting. Staff is now presenting the following proposal referred to as the Food Truck Ordinance 2.0, based on community feedback and direction from the Mobile Food Truck Committee. As we take a look at the presentation, so there's basically, as a breakdown, give you an idea of where we're starting from. There's one that we had a rather lengthy discussion about food truck or 4 types of permits that we have. And we have the administrative use permit for individual food trucks. We have the temporary use permit, and special event food trucks. And we have conditional use permits for food truck parks and exceptions. And then the eatery food truck permit for food trucks located at breweries, pubs, and bars. So recommendation number 1 was increase the maximum limit of individual food trucks throughout the city from 10 to 20. We had a lot of discussion on that. Went from 15 up to 20 and back down to 10. And the group finally came to a unanimous decision of making it 20 food trucks throughout the area. Now, this does not limit the food trucks that are going to be grub hubs, special events, or eatery food trucks, or located at a brewery, pub, or bar. Recommendation number 2 was maintain the existing distance buffers for individual food trucks. The committee felt basically, the 1,000-foot difference between the individual food trucks was sufficient. 350 feet between individual food trucks and schools and parks still made it safe, and then 350 feet between the food trucks and restaurants unless written permission is given by that restaurant owner. Recommendation number 3 went without much concern at all. Basically, incorporate existing food truck policies into the Ceres Municipal Code. Recommendation 4 is clarify the definition used in the municipal code. For example, the approving authority is the city manager or designee for all types of mobile food vendor permits, except those issued as conditional use permits by the Ceres Planning Commission. Recommendation number 5 was kind of confusing at first. Basically, we have 1 year length, and they want to extend that up to 2. But what it was brought forth, and I believe that was Councilmember Vieira that brought this, is that we would like to try and computerize it and make it a lot easier so that we could, instead of taking up everybody's time and having every year coming in, make it a 2-year process. And so, but we have to get that in the computer and being able to do it online a lot easier than what it's doing right now. Recommendation number 6, to prohibit tables, tents, canopies, and seating at individual food trucks. This does not apply to food trucks at grub hubs, special events, or eatery food trucks located again at breweries, pubs, or bars. It's individual food trucks only. Recommendation number 7 is prohibit amplified music or sound at individual food trucks and at eatery food trucks located at brewery, pubs, and bars. This does not apply to the grub hubs or special events, which would be like at schools or anything else, but they would be subject to the noise ordinance of the city. Recommendation number 8, still require lavatories within 200 feet for all types of food trucks. Optional bathrooms may also be available for the public, but basically those are for the employees to wash their hands in. Recommendation number 9 is clarify that the property owner can now revoke authorization of a food truck on their own property at any time. They don't have to go through any processes. Basically, they can sit there and say they no longer want the food truck on their property and have to be removed. Recommendation number 10 is prohibit individual food trucks within the downtown series during the Ceres Street Fair unless a mobile food vendor is an authorized participant of the Ceres Street Fair. And then number 11, update the municipal code in other miscellaneous ways, such as including regulations related to trash receptacles, lighting, and signage. And the administrative components of proposed ordinance also includes application requirements, regulations related to revocation, appeals, and penalties for food truck violations. Are there any questions?
I now open the public hearing to the public. Any members of the public that would like to make a comment or questions on this item? Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Surrey City Council, and I want to thank Rosalinda and Mr. Martinez for doing an excellent job on that committee. I was fortunately able to attend those meetings, and the public was also invited to make their comments. But one of the things that we talked about is the enforcement and how enforcement is going to take place with all these regulations, especially tables and chairs and tents. Number 6 up here. Recently, I noticed that the food truck vendor on 6th Street, he had his A-frame sign out and banners on his chain link fence down there on 6th Street, which kind of fronts the freeway. And, but he's got a big tent there with tables and chairs and stuff. And that's one of the things that's not supposed to be. I know that the Christopher Holmes Department office is well aware, and I have sent a couple of emails reminding that this has taken place. We haven't even got the new ordinance in place. We're still operating on the old one, and we can't enforce what we have. One of the biggest complaints was Christopher's office. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the ability to take care of these type of problems and events. They're limited in their resources. So the council should consider these things. We have violations from the new people that haven't been there yet a month or two. And we're gonna open it up for a can of worms. I mean, every parking lot in this city is overrun with vendors. The other day, there was a guy trying to sell windshield wipers at the Cost Less Food parking lot. And there was 3 cars in that parking lot with their trunks open, selling tamales and soft drinks and various other sundry items. It's just everywhere. Walmart parking lot the other day, when we were involved in the Buddy Poppy program, had 4 or 5 people wandering around the parking lot selling stuff, tamales and other food products. There's just no one out there taking observation and taking care of these problems. And the city is just going to create more by bringing additional vendors in. I know the thought is it's going to be great for our small business people, but it's actually going to create more problems than the city can handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Next person, please.
Excuse me, Shane Parson.
Shane.
I'd like to address Mr. Warren. Well, the city ordinance does allow for an A-frame sign to be up 30 days on opening a business. Been for a long time. Secondly, that happens to be my property there. Did put up a tent and tables. Now, if the people from the food truck decide to sit there, I don't have any control over that. Now, we're not in anybody else's parking lot. I realized that the stipulation was that we look forward to possibly, I don't know if that's going to be voted on, if there's going to be a chance to go to the planning commission to put a grub hub in there. But I'm not sure that putting a tent and chairs on private property falls under the same criteria as the other places food trucks are at in our city. I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit so that everybody understands. It is on private property. You can take the tent down and open a building I have there. The intention is to be, we have plenty of parking, we're off the street, and I probably should have got a permit to put the banner up. I did not.
Anybody else?
Yes, I want to
Please state your
elaborate.
name. Please state your name.
My name is Violet Savay. I want to elaborate a little bit on that. It's one thing when somebody is just selling tamales on a corner of a sidewalk with no permits, no fees, and you haven't paid any license. However, as a permitted mobile food facility, I know how much goes behind all of it. Number one, health department is not going to issue a permit if you don't have a restroom within 200 feet. Okay, so I'm not even sure why this is on on your city agenda. That's a health department issue. Number two, if it is a private property and we're paying taxes, or any mobile food vendor who is paying their taxes and their dues, and they did pay thousands of dollars to get those mobile food facilities up and running, I personally don't see where there's a problem of having a couple of tables or chairs for those who are handicapped or mothers who need to pull their children out of the vehicle to have their children or their handicapped person eat their food before taking off. So I just kind of don't see what there's a problem or issue about having a couple of tables on a private property with a tent or a couple of chairs if you're permitted and you're paying taxes.
My microphone turned off. Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak?
Shauna Moore, I just want to say, I look forward to eventually moving to a hub type facility, like many citizens. Most of my dollars are spent outside of the city of Ceres. There's not a lot of things that are offered to me that I like to purchase that are with the city. I shop at Costco out of town. I like pastries and delicatessen type foods that are offered here. I go to the Bay Area to go to the different grub hubs. I'll pay $25 in San Francisco just to go to a big grub hub facility to visit 200 trucks for the day because food, the offerings are incredible. So just as somebody who likes to eat as a foodie, I look forward to more food coming in. Something besides, and I'm not being discriminatory whatsoever, but I want something of tacos. I want steak. I know my family wants sushi, want some Japanese food, teppanyaki. I mean, Greek food, you name it. There are more foods out there that we don't offer in this city. I spend thousands of dollars a year on food in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to make a comment? Seeing none. I now close the public hearing. I bring this back to the council.
Mayor, we do have an email.
Oh, you do have emails, ma'am?
Mayor Javier Lopez and members of the Ceres City Council. This was sent via email. Dear Mayor and council members, the Ceres Street Fair has a distinguished history of 34 years of service to our community. As you are aware, the street fair was designed by dedicated community leaders to provide a vehicle for our local nonprofits to raise funds for their worthwhile efforts to assist our community and its youth. We, the Ceres Street Fair Committee, have continued this tradition of excellent every street fair. In doing so, we pride ourselves on our fierce protection of our nonprofits and our community and ensure that our yearly event maintains these high standards. As such, each booth that sells food and drinks at the Ceres Street Fair must be managed or coordinated with a nonprofit. We do not allow commercial vendors to provide food and drinks unless they meet this standard. It is for this reason that we, the committee, are speaking out the matter of the food truck issue and the impact it would have on the Ceres Street Fair if we removed the current regulations limiting number of and location of trucks. We as a committee feel very strongly that a number of community-sponsored events would suffer tremendously if food trucks were given a carte blanche ability to serve customers whom local nonprofits count on for their fund development. We are strongly opposed to any changes in the current food truck requirements that would force our nonprofits to compete with food truck vendors anxious to sell their products during our annual street fair, as well as other community events that could suffer the same consequences. Thank you for your consideration of our request and continued support of the street fair. Regards, Lisa Montero Moore, Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Was that the only email on this item? Only email? Okay, now I bring this item back to the council for any comments and or questions. Rosalinda, you have the floor.
I seen if someone else was gonna say it before me. Looking through this, which brought up an interesting topic, Mr. Parsons brought up regarding food vendors on private property, on property they own themselves. I don't know if that was outlined in this. I don't remember having that discussion during the committees at all, and what regulations we would have with people on their own private commercial property.
What I'm looking at is if it's on, even if it's on their private property and stuff, they still have to follow the same rules as everybody else. I know he put up the tent and stuff, for that was for his own private use, and people sit there, you know, you can't stop them. I understand that. They still have to follow the same rules, even though it's on property. He's conducting a business, and he still have to follow the same rules.
Councilmember Vieira, the general and operational standards that will apply to all the mobile food vendors under section 51040 requires that they must obtain written authorization from the property owner. Obviously, if they are the property owner, it'll be much easier for them to obtain that authorization, but that is a requirement. And during the city manager's presentation, we also wanted to highlight that there is the ability for the property owner to withdraw their authorization, and therefore that potentially could trigger a review, a further look into the operations of a particular vendor to ensure that they are meeting those.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, your button has been pressed. The floor is yours.
That was the question. Nubia, the question is allowing tables, chairs, awnings, et cetera, on private property where the food truck sits on private property. We haven't really crossed that bridge in all of the work that was done on this food truck stuff. So I think that's what she's talking about. What are we going to do about that?
Currently, as drafted, the ordinance only contemplates not allowing it for individual trucks that are part of the administrative use permit structure. So we can work in specific regulations that the council may want to, I think, further illuminate that specific issue, but in draft form, it does not regulate.
As written, they would only be allowed in a Grubhub style environment. But what are we going to do? Literally something, and Shane was gracious enough to bring this up. It's something that hasn't been addressed by anybody, the committee or anybody. What are we going to do if somebody has a truck on their own private property and wants to put up an awning?
Shane, quick question, if you don't mind going up there. In this scenario, your goal is to apply for a Grubhub, correct?
Correct. I just don't want to spend the
Right.
money until it's approved.
You're just being straight up, right? Okay, well, it does draw that big question. He will be going through the process.
Now, the one thing that you need to understand too, all the food trucks are on private property. Mine is a little different scenario in the fact that there's not another business. We're not in front of a liquor store. We're not in front of a bar. It's just a blank piece of property. So when the guy put it, because I rent that to one food truck, we are gonna probably have one of the larger Grubhubs in Merced County now. So if you want Japanese or Chinese or Greek food, we
Way to
have it
go,
all down
way
there.
to go,
Good
Shane.
plug. Good
And
plug.
So but we can look forward to possibly doing something like that, but our intention there was not to not follow the rules, and I understand what Doug's saying. I consider that a little different circumstance than being using up parking spot some of the other places where food trucks are. That was.
And I believe you did that when we had the first rough draft of the original original ordinance for this item is when you actually place the truck there. So in
Right.
essence, because of that is why he put the truck there, and your intentions were for a Grubhub. So the question is going back to what you're saying.
Yeah, so we're at the point now, are we gonna try to pass what we've worked on and keep working on this private property issue? Or do we need to table this and have the committee or the council or somebody meet and figure out what we're gonna do with the language in this ordinance to solve his problem?
Mr. Martinez, Mr. Shane, you can have a seat now, sir. Sorry about that.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may, I believe the committee's intentions are not allowing tables and tents and chairs at these food truck locations, and Ms. Myers or Vieira can correct me if I'm wrong, but the brick and mortar establishments were being considered in this instance. If you're gonna go to a Grubhub, that's fine, but if you're gonna go to a taco truck location and get your meal and go home, usually you're gonna go eat it somewhere else. If your intention is to go sit down and spend a long time eating your food, we're hoping that you would attend one of our brick and mortar restaurants in the city that could use patrons as well. And Ms. Myers or Ms. Vieira, if you have any other comments on that, but I do believe that was the intention on not allowing those specific items at those locations.
So technically, what we're saying is that you're not allowed to have tables if you just have a food truck, which is pretty much, there should be no reason why we change that, because that's already the goal. Is that the suggestion is to not have tables and chairs at a food truck, but yes, for a Grubhub scenario. So
Yes.
in essence, that should be enforced.
Yeah, the tables and chairs were planned to be at the Grubhubs, which would go through planning commissions, get conditional use permits, be more planned out, more scrutinized. Those were locations that you're gonna go sit down, eat, maybe try food from different locations. If alcohol is served there, then you can sit down and have a drink. That was not our intention with just the regular food vendors that are in our city currently.
So it would be enforced, Severa, that he should not have the tables and chairs unless he's going to planning commission for a Grubhub, which he is.
Yeah, but what we can decide now is what we have, and we have other places that want to have a tables too. It's not just Shane in his place.
Which we're saying that they won't be able to have.
I understand that. Fully understand that.
Thank you. So we'll go to Rosalinda. The floor is yours. Okay, great. Casey, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow what Vice Mayor Rivera suggested briefly there, that it probably should be tabled. One of the issues, we've had people speak before us. I'm a small business. What's the harm of this? What's the harm of that? Mr. Parsons talks about private property. Well, except this building, almost everything around us is private property. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I could care less about this because I'd be a citizen. I would avoid the problem. But here as council people and city government, we have an obligation to make certain that the rules that we put in place benefit the citizens of Ceres. And then we work closely with code enforcement to make sure that those codes are enforced. Recently, I had conversation with code enforcement, and their answer to me was, what's the harm? Well, yeah, the guy that used to be a citizen of Ceres, he's right, what's the harm? But setting up here and the staff of the city of Ceres, the harm is they're violating the code, they're depriving the citizens of Ceres, but the tax revenue that should be collected. So yeah, we need to revisit this issue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Rosalinda, the floor is yours.
I probably have to concur, because even looking at recommendation number 6, we do allow some exceptions. And considering where this location is, it's, privately owned. And it's not near any other food vendors. And especially if we're looking at bringing in food vendors that we don't even offer, or type of food that's not even offered in town. Like she said, maybe we do bring in some Greek or Japanese or something. And if we don't offer it in a brick and mortar, I'd still like to have that opportunity until we do. So maybe even offering an exception for private property that's fully owned by that vendor, I think would be something I would be interested in looking at differently, since we allow it with the breweries, pubs and bars, according to recommendation number 6.
So you would suggest that we just loop it in with the breweries, pubs and bars?
When it's privately owned and they own 100% of the land.
And they're the ones putting in the food truck. So that would be your amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. I would be okay with that. Be okay with that. Any other comments?
Just one, Mr. Mayor, if they 100% own it, they're allowed. But if they don't, but have permission from the owner who 100% owns it, are we saying no then? Or are we
Right,
going to
that's
allow
correct.
it?
That is correct,
At
because
any point in time, once 100% of ownership gives permission, then we can allow it. So
so the motion, the idea is that if Shane, for example, owns it and he's the one putting up the food truck, he would fall under the breweries section. But if that's not the case, then it would have to be only in a Grubhub scenario to be allowed tables and chairs. Pubs and bars. That is a suggestion. So that would be the fix, per se. The suggestion we can make.
So, just a comment.
Sure.
To move this forward, I think we could probably move on everything and exclude number 6 at this point, revisit that with committee or whoever, and authorize everything else on this. And we can revisit the whole tent, canopies, seating, all that.
I don't think that we can you'd have to do the whole thing all over again.
The ordinance as drafted contains language about no tables and chairs for individual mobile food vendors. If the council wants to revisit the tables and chairs issue wholesale, you can strike that from the administrative permit section. And as part of your direction is that you can direct your subcommittee to look at that further, or we'll bring this back. Because alternatively, the ordinance is the ordinance, so we have to make changes to it in draft form if you want to move it forward. Alternatively, you could table it.
you would have to say in your motion, you're striking item 6 from the ordinance?
When we
Why not, I'm sorry, why not just not necessarily strike the entire item, but just on the specific question about the property owner, that makes sure that we're gonna come back for that. And we can add that particular item, because if we strike it now, then those pubs and breweries won't be able to do what it says now. So that would be also a waste. That's
So
what I'm
current,
saying. So only the one little small item would have to come back, which is a property owner who owns a food truck. And everything else would pass if it were to pass unanimously.
recommendation number 6 was more as an illustration. We have to work off the code. So
Okay.
in the code right now, and Director Holm can correct me if I'm wrong, the only mention about tables and chairs has to do with the administrative permit structure. There is no mention of tables and chairs anywhere else. So that includes the temporary use permit, the conditional use permit, and the eatery food truck permit categories. So depending on which direction you want to go, I would suggest to either strike out that one line to revisit it later, or leave it as is and direct the subcommittee to have further discussions, maybe some subcommittee meetings and public meetings on this issue specifically.
Make a motion to approve number 14 in the public hearing section with stricken public prohibit tables, tents, canopies, seating at individual food trucks. This, however, would authorize the Grubhub, special events and eatery food trucks and locations like breweries, pubs, or bars.
Is that pending the ad hoc committee getting together?
Yes, pending further investigation by
The
the
ordinance-
ad hoc
The
committee.
ordinance would
Council.
pass now, except for that strike, which is the
Mr.
private
Mayor?
property. Sir,
I think if we strike, what is it, 10.05 or 5.10.050, section A, line number 5. That's the only place it talks about. it.
Correct.
If
And
you strike that,
if you strike that without any you strike that tonight and you end up approving and adopting this ordinance at a future meeting, that would mean that any mobile food operator could have tables and chairs. Tables, chairs, canopy, because there's no restriction otherwise.
could we amend it to say
Yes.
tables, chairs, and canopies and tents are prohibited unless the property is owned by the mobile food truck vendor?
And that would go to Councilmember Vieira's request for a modification.
suggestion.
So again, whatever the council's wish to modify this can be done tonight. We just have to read it into the motion. You can table it. Or again, you can just strike the language with further direction. So that was just for clarification. So we have a motion on the table.
Fallon, would you mind reading the vice mayor's motion back, please?
The motion that is currently up for a vote is to introduce for first reading the draft ordinance, striking out tables, chairs, canopies, and tents are prohibited from this code. And my clarification to you is if you strike that out, that means that, and if you adopt it, it will be permitted.
Did you second it? Okay. So then,
There's a motion.
if there's a motion, but there's no second?
I wasn't sure what the motion is.
He was, okay, say,
Wait, did he make
one-
the, yeah, I didn't know
not
if he
yours,
included.
not what you suggested.
Oh, okay.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just so I can make sure I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, City Attorney, if we second and then vote on and pass this moving forward, there would be no need to revise this because moving forward, every location, every Grubhub, I'm sorry, every food truck would be permitted to have tables, tents and such?
If you leave it alone,
Yes, if we were to do it how the vice mayor had suggested it.
if you do it the way the vice mayor suggested, there's no prohibition on
Correct.
tables, chairs, canopies, or tents. So there will be some ambiguity in the code. This is for a new structure. This is for a new structure moving forward. Your current rules are your current rules until such time as you replace them. So that, yes.
So it's already in our code. That means if we approve everything else, that's still in our code. And it is in our current code that
Your,
it's prohibited.
your current code as it currently exists is static. If the council ultimately adopts this version, it completely supersedes that. So it makes it entirely go away, and this is the new universe you're working from.
Strike my earlier motion, please.
Well, my only suggestion is going back to what you had suggested, right? And
So my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, would be that the council pass the ordinance as it, with the exception that under 5-10-050, subsection A, subsection 5, to read tables, chairs, canopies, and tents are prohibited unless the mobile food vendor is the owner, sole owner of that property.
That would be an amendment.
That's what we need to research.
I-
Why we need to reconvene and have the committee meet to discuss the end of what you just said and not include it in this tonight.
I agree with the vice mayor because we have to define, are we only allowing the 100% property owner to have permission? Or if that property owner gives permission, we need to establish that. So I agree with the vice mayor.
My goal was to approve everything except this part of it. So the rest of it can move forward with all the different use permits and all of that. So if somebody can word this the way it's supposed to be, I would be glad to make that.
So,
motion.
so currently as it stands, it doesn't say that he would be allowed to do so. This is ordinance, it
Under-
doesn't even
under
allow,
the-
it
Under this
doesn't let him
draft,
do it regardless.
that's correct. What I'm
So
hearing,
that's what I'm, so only, I don't mean to cut you off, but
So-
what I'm saying is if we pass this now, we can actually amend that portion later because he doesn't even, he's not even allowed to do it now. That means if we decide not to continue to allow him, we wouldn't even have to come back. But if we wanted to allow him in the future, we'd have to come back with an amendment.
Yes, yes.
So why are we wasting our time? Let's just go ahead and pass this ordinance as it stands.
Mr. Mayor, if I can clarify something.
Yes, sir.
So Shane owns the property.
Yes.
It's not his food truck.
Well, then why are we,
So
why are we
then
even talking
that's
about?
not his food truck.
Oh, you know, it isn't his food truck, right?
I don't know that it's not his. food
He's
truck.
saying it's not. He's saying it's not.
In the public would like to speak.
I know, but public period is not, it's closed already. Where it's only us. So
I think she should be able to talk.
you want her to talk?
Yeah, she's right there. Got her.
Anybody else okay with that? 'Cause if we do
I'm
that,
okay, because she's a
I'm-
mobile food vendor in the city, and I think it's important to get all of their input.
I am,
she's gonna say she wants tables and chairs.
and I am not, for.
I already know. I support the whole, yeah, I support her in that. Okay, so look, listen, just the thing is that we open it up to the public again, we're gonna have to open it up again and there's gonna be more people to speak. So okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second, Violet. No, hold on, Violet. Respectfully, I understand. So
I just want to make sure, I do not support opening it back up. You did have people in the stands earlier during public comment that wanted a
Yeah.
second chance to speak and you did not allow them. So I believe we discussed, if you don't do it for someone, you can't
yeah,
do it for
that's
another.
kind of my thought process, Violet. No, obviously you know how I am. Just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. So bringing this back to the council. I say I suggest that we pass it the way it is. And, okay,
Mr. Mayor, before motions made.
sure, go ahead. Sure, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
You know, we're having so much discussion. We already have codes in place that are difficult for code enforcement people to enforce. I go back to my suggestion earlier, we table this, get it clear, have more public input. Because right now we have codes in place and it's difficult for code enforcement.
Is that a motion?
people to enforce.
Is that a motion?
I'm,
Motion? Looking for a second? Is there a second on that motion?
Before I respond, Christopher, would tabling this, an additional length of time affect anything you have conditional use permit wise coming up to the planning commission?
On December 4th, the planning commission intends to meet to discuss the El Tito Flea Market use permit amendment. The part of their project description includes a grub hub. But understanding that this is happening simultaneously, any changes to their food truck situation would be conditioned upon whatever the city council ends up deciding. So it would be paused until the city council makes their final decision.
I'll second Mr. Casey's motion, and then I would just ask that anybody in the stands, any citizens that would like to attend, it sounds like we will be getting together with another committee to discuss these items. Please come to the committee meetings and voice your concerns.
We're gonna table this for one item that we said that wouldn't change.
That's not- I will
Entire
second.
thing, the whole entire ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion? If it's the council's wish to continue this item, I think it'd be beneficial to staff, one, to know how many meetings you'd like your subcommittee to meet, when you would like this back, so that we can provide some certainty since it's a public hearing item.
The committee can decide that if, so there's a motion on the floor with the second, correct?
Well, I think the city attorney needs clarification before the second is voted.
Can we repeat the original motion? It's just to
It's
continue
to
this?
table the item.
Continue. Let's just table it.
That's the motion. And so I'm waiting for a second, but she just asked her to clarify.
Did you second?
It- He has not, he's waiting for Nubia to clarify. I guess he's not
I did,
understanding.
but the city attorney asked us to clarify when we would like staff to have this
Oh, that's
prepared for
correct.
us. What else was it?
3 things.
I would also,
When would the council like to have this back? How many meetings do you want your subcommittee to meet? And 3, in order to keep the discussion on point, what do you want the subcommittee to address specifically? Because If you don't, there's a possibility that the subcommittee could look into other things and
let's just
we'd
be a
make some
revolving
other
door.
recommendations. I don't know if that's the council's wish, but my recommendation would be for that to be clear so that we're all on the same page.
Does all that need to be in Mr. Casey's motion?
Ideally, yes.
So then do I need to rescind my initial second and he needs to remove his first motion so we can create a new one?
Did
Or-
you, did you?
I did
second?
second, yes.
Yes, if we can have Councilmember Casey, if he wishes to make a change, he may just want to just table the item wholesale without any further direction. So that's really at Councilmember Casey's discretion.
Mr. Casey. So basically what she's asking is that me and you remove our motions so that we can clearly define what we want to be presented at the committee after tabling it. I will remove my second of his motion.
There's no second at all, right?
I thought
Seconded.
No, I know, but you said
he
that
the mayor did.
did he
I
second
thought Daniel did.
He,
originally?
he stated
Yeah.
that he did and he withdrew his
So
second.
to answer the city attorney's questions, I refer the competency of our staff to set up the dates that are agreeable with council. But right now, they're available, their calendar's not necessarily in front of us. And we would need, some staff members to be at those meetings, so.
Without further
That
direction.
motion is dead, right? The original motion, because I thought there was no second.
I removed my second.
Yes. The motion dies if there's no second. Right now,
Casey-
there is not a second.
There's no
Casey has not
second.
removed
But I
his-
wanted, I'm happy to second his tabling. I thought you wanted the answer to your questions, which is why he withdrew the question so he can amend his motion to add the answers to your question. And if he's not willing to second, I'm happy to second that.
Go ahead, Rosalind.
Council, so for the record, from what I've heard, Councilmember Casey's motion is to table the item and give discretion to staff to address all the three categories that I've asked
That is a
for.
motion on the table. Can I hear a second, please?
I'm happy to second that.
Can I get a roll call?
Member Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
No.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
No,
Mayor Lopez,
No.
motion fails 2-3.
Okay. Want me to do it?
my turn.
You want, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
make a motion to approve number 14 on the public hearing. And include in that motion to have our food truck committee reconvene to address recommendation number 6.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Can I get a roll call, please?
My question before I vote,
Oh, we are now in roll
Number
call.
5, not number 6.
No, number five. not
You're
number-
talking about recommendation. It's actually number 5 on the ordinance, sir.
It's item 6 on ours.
Item 6, recommendation
Yeah,
6,
I
prohibit
was
tables.
talking about
testing.
the actual ordinance.
Recommendation number 6.
We have a motion on the floor in a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
I believe there may be some questions about the motion and that's procedurally proper to
That's
ask.
procedure- okay.
yeah, just to ask questions about the.
Sure.
motion.
I just didn't see your button press. I don't know. I don't think your button's even
yeah,
working.
I don't know.
Go ahead, sir.
So my question is, the motion is to have the staff set up the time that we're gonna revisit these other things?
No, the motion as it currently stands is for the council to introduce the ordinance as drafted with no changes. But to direct the subcommittee to reconvene to look at recommendation number 6 regarding tents, tables, and canopies.
I guess, let me get it straight. The motion is to accept it is as it is,
Yes,
and then we're asking the committee to reconvene and revisit something?
Item
And will
number
that be
6.
brought back to us if they
Item number
change it
6.
or what?
Mhm,
for a
that's correct.
for a recommendation, yes. And functionally, what would happen if the council moves forward on second reading and adoption to codify and approve this draft, that will be the law. If the subcommittee brings back specific recommendations, the council could then move to direct to make an amendment to the ordinance at a later point.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other questions, Mr. Casey?
Yeah, I'm confused, that's all. We're gonna vote on something, it's gonna be law, but then it can be changed again by some subcommittee revisiting something.
No, the subcommittee would make a recommendation to the council, and the council could then make changes to the rule at a later point in time.
Okay, Rosalinda, the floor is yours.
I'm almost positive they answered my question. But if it does go through an amendment and changes are recommended from the committee, if they do meet sometime in the next month, that means it still has to go through the same 2 readings.
Yes,
So it still delays the process.
potentially.
Only if there's an amendment.
Yeah, that would only delay the process if you want to change this as it's currently written.
Yeah, because we have a
We're gonna,
second.
my goal is to pass this and have the committee meet to talk about recommendation number 6 about tables, chairs, all of that.
Yeah, the
And bring that back to us later, or not bring it back if everybody's good with it.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to clarify with staff. It's item 6 in our presentation, but it's actually item 5 in the ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the misunderstanding seems to be coming from.
So any additional questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Second on that.
Mr. Martinez.
Thank you. Councilmember Casey,
No,
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes,
Mayor Lopez,
Yes,
motion carries 3-2.
congratulations.
And then if I may, just one more time, anybody in attendance tonight that would like to come to the committee meeting and voice their opinion on how they would like that specific item to be addressed, please do. Our staff will do a good job of promoting when we're going to have our meeting, but please be in attendance. That way we can have more participation and we can hear your voice as well.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 15, adding and replacing series municipal code ordinance. Chapter 7, protection of critical infrastructure on Title 6, health and sanitation to the series municipal code, and this goes to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight, we have 2 ordinance.
Actually, city attorney,
Yes.
I'm getting some consensus that some folks need to take a quick little bathroom
Yeah,
break.
if I could
So we're gonna go ahead and go for that. 5-minute recess starts now. Thank you, Rosalinda. Okay. We now resume our meeting. Back to item number 15. Nubia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you tonight are two ordinances for your consideration. Both of them are related to the city's efforts, continued efforts to address unpermitted camping within city limits. That's really been, I think, a problem that has just increased in recent years. And it's not unique to the city, but it's a statewide issue. But this is part of staff's effort to try to address it as best we can. And we'll talk about the parameters that we're currently working under from a legal perspective. These two ordinances are intended to address some of the unintended or intended just the consequences that happen with unpermitted camping due to homelessness. These type of encampments often attract certain things such as illegal dumping, proliferation of rodents, fire hazards, and contamination of the surrounding area around the campsites. And those pose an immediate threat to the public health and safety. So these proposed ordinances establish a framework to assist staff in regulating and managing these encampments to try to maintain a sanitary and healthy environment and try to mitigate for some of those consequences. So these ordinances do two things, and the way that they're separated is what I will call the critical infrastructure ordinance and a health and sanitation ordinance. The two ordinances go hand in hand, and they're intended to work together. The first ordinance is the critical infrastructure ordinance, which addresses the threat to the public health and safety from the perspective of regulating encampments that are near critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure is a defined term in the ordinance, and if it's the council's wish to move forward with this ordinance, we'll work with staff in order to develop a list and a map which lay out what will be considered critical infrastructure within the city. And that really is open to a wide interpretation of the council's desires, what can be deemed critical infrastructure. And that's something that we'll be working through as we move forward with this ordinance process. The intent of this ordinance is to do basically one thing. It's to declare a public nuisance if there's encampments that occupy within 25 feet of critical infrastructure. So there's, again, some very specific parameters within the ordinance. The ordinance doesn't apply to camping on private property because there's limitations on what the city can do, obviously within limitations of private property, but this is not intended to address that. This is literally intended to address homeless camping. If under the ordinance, if the conditions are so severe that immediate action is required, the city can pursue summary abatement. There's very specific procedures that the city has to follow in order to provide due process. Now, that's important for the council to keep in mind as you consider these ordinances and any ordinances moving forward, is that from a legal perspective, in recent years, cities throughout the United States have found significant challenges in regulating homelessness. And that's one of the reasons why you see the proliferation and the increase in homeless camping, because there is the landmark Boise case, which is the one that we are all subject to. And essentially what that did is that the court held that you can't criminalize homelessness. You can't cite, arrest, or fine individuals who have literally nowhere else to go. There are limitations to that. You can use criminal enforcement if, then you have to meet very specific criteria, which include there has to be shelter available, there have to be beds available. The individual must have given an opportunity to participate in some type of program. There's a lot of restrictions on cities because the case basically tells you what you can't do. It doesn't tell you what you can do. And so since that ruling came out, various cities have gotten creative and tried to carve their way in establishing regulations to help address the homelessness issue. One of the latest ones and latest iteration is a critical infrastructure ordinance. Again, the intent behind it is to balance due process rights of homeless individuals with the critical importance of maintaining healthy communities and not having the proliferation of all things that are dangerous to the public, could be to children. Again, at the campsites, staff, our code enforcement staff can provide additional context of the type of things that they see on a day-to-day basis when they're cleaning out these sites. The second ordinance that I mentioned is the health and hygiene ordinance, and that one goes hand in hand with the critical infrastructure ordinance because it's the mechanism to allow staff to carry out clean and clear operations. A clean and clear operation is one in which staff will routinely go to sites where homeless encampments tend to frequent to basically come in, provide them notice, say, look, you're not supposed to be camping here. We need you to clear out. We need to clear this area. It could be a park. It could be any kind of public right of way. And so the case that I mentioned to you, the Boise landmark case, what's happened since then is that the court has ruled and determined that a city has the ability to do clean and clear operations as long as you're providing due process, which is essentially you're giving them warning and you're giving them an opportunity to pack their things and move along, and not necessarily coming in on short notice and kicking them out. Again, this is from the legal protections that are involved in homelessness regulations. So the second ordinance will establish a 72-hour notice requirement to the occupants and basically sets out the procedures on what to do with the property, if they're left at the campsite and abandoned or unattended. And again, very specific parameters the city has to follow in order to protect the property rights of individuals who are experiencing homelessness. So again, these two ordinances work hand in hand to try to address a very prevalent problem with no clear solution to it. It is very possible that the Supreme Court will take up the Boise case in the near future and hopefully illuminate and provide additional context on what cities can actually do in terms of regulating homelessness. But for all of the information that the council has received of staff's efforts on cleaning out encampments and the social aspect of dealing with homelessness, there are some very specific legal regulations and restrictions on what the city can do from a criminal enforcement standpoint. And that's been part of the challenge and part of the issue with just cleaning it out, aside from the practical reality that I would say that there probably is no jurisdiction in the state of California that has the staffing and money to completely eradicate or address homelessness at any level. So it is a pervasive problem with no easy solution. So again, this is an attempt to try to provide a framework and give staff additional tools on how to deal with this ever-growing problem. So with that, I can answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Any members of the public who would like to make a comment on this item, please step up to the podium. State your name.
Dave Pratt of Series. You know, every one of you guys, you treat the homeless as pariah. Until you can get around to actually helping these people with their mental issues and a lot of this problems you're causing yourselves. People in this valley cannot afford the expensive houses that are being put in and the high cost of trying to live on what little they got. When they got people that move out of the Bay Area that can afford to drive 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening to come home, paychecks in the Bay Area. And they're driving the people out of their homes in the streets. And you talk about sanitation, you want them, all you're doing is trying to push them to to another area and they just keep moving around in a cycle and you're not really addressing the problem. And it's not just Ceres, it's every place in California and every other state that has the same issues. I drive to my daughter's in Washington and I see all this camping everywhere. And you're not going to get rid of it. So you can really address the problem and try to get these people help.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to make a comment?
John Warren, City of Ceres. Thank you, Council, Mayor. Are we talking 16A and B only,
Talking
Good.
item number 15A and B,
not C?
not C yet. No, that's correct, not C yet.
But I was given information that C was going to be continued or.
We'll get to that
along.
right now. We'll get to that item number C in a second, but only A and B we are discussing at the moment, Mr. Warren.
Thank you very much.
And no worries, no worries. Anybody else would like to make a comment? Any emails? I'll bring this back to the council for any further discussion. Rosalinda, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. The first being, the way it's worded, is it completely compliant with case law, including compliance with pending laws?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last.
Sorry, I'm trying
Compliant.
to speak into the microphone. I'm getting, but trying to get better. I just wanted to make sure that this is in compliance with pending laws, current law, and case law.
Yes, so these ordinances were drafted specifically to address the limitations in Boise. And the idea that the cases that follow Boise focus on the government imposing regulations is permitted under certain circumstances. The main component of the legality of that is to make sure that the affected individuals are provided due process, which is advance notice. And so these are designed to address that. Now, the big question for the council, not something that we're addressing today, but we'll have to look at later and we'll work with staff, is to determine what is deemed critical infrastructure. There have been several cities in the state of California who have gotten creative on the definition of critical infrastructure. So typically you would include city facilities that provide utility or service. So again, critical infrastructure could be wastewater, water treatment, things of that nature. There have been cities that have included schools and daycares as part of critical infrastructure. And it's a big gray area. It hasn't been fully tested in the courts. The regulations that currently exist in different parts of the state could potentially be subject to litigation, further evaluation at the court level. But that's a risk assessment that we don't have to worry about today. This is just establishing the framework. And at a later point, we'll have the secondary discussion of what is critical infrastructure for Ceres.
And I think that leads to my second question, is the critical infrastructure, because looking at what's outlined in item D on item 15, I don't even know, page 206. Critical infrastructure includes pretty much everything. It says roads, antennas, railroad tracks, waterways, drainage systems. I mean, every street has a drain, every road has a drain. We have bridges all over the city. We have roads to get through the city. So that pretty well eliminates it, which to me seems like a violation of the Boise case, which seems like that needs to be addressed and defined before I'm willing to put the city at risk of a lawsuit in violation of the law.
The key component to this ordinance is that it's infrastructure that's designated as being so vital and integral to the operation or functioning of the city. There is a provision in here that will have to set out exactly what critical infrastructure will be deemed so that it's clear what counts and what doesn't count. So again, that's the secondary component to this. But that is a key to address Councilmember Vieira's point. We have to ensure that whatever you deem to be critical infrastructure has to meet that requirement, because what you don't want to do is, in implementing an ordinance like this, is that you're just saying, critical infrastructure is literally anything and everything. So that is not the practical implication of this. This is just to establish the framework.
Okay, yeah, because my understanding from 6.07.020 definitions, item D, it outlines everything in there, including roads, drainage, waters, everything. And at this point in time, I would like to see a clear understanding of what we're considering, if you're saying that's not our definition. Because basically that's making homelessness illegal, and that's against Boise.
This definition of critical infrastructure may include, but is not limited to. So again, as I mentioned before, the next category will be, and the next step in establishing this is the council approving a list of critical infrastructure. This is establishing a framework. It's not the final critical infrastructure list. Alternatively, we could make changes to the ordinance to eliminate categories. My recommendation is to include a broader definition and then streamline your critical infrastructure list when the time is ready and when we bring that back to council.
But would that open us up for litigation if we're violating case law?
How so? I'm not.
Well, because right now on your broad definition is outlined in 6.07.020 item D. It includes roads, water, drainage system. So to me, that includes everything.
It
So to
says
me,
that
we're just making it illegal. Every road, every drain, everything in the city is illegal.
this definition states that critical infrastructure may include these. So again, the distinction is that it's property that the city manager designates as being so vital and integral to the operation or functioning of the city. If the council wishes, alternatively, we could amend this definition to be explicit, to say critical infrastructure will mean and include the list here. Again, I see this as a two-step process.
Right, because there's a first reading and a second reading.
Yes, but the critical infrastructure list will be brought back to you at a later point in time because it's part of, there's a few components to this process that don't end just with this.
Right.
But we could do that. If it's the council's wish, we could modify this critical infrastructure definition to be explicit on what you deem to be critical infrastructure.
Any more?
It does not include schools at this time.
Okay. Any additional questions?
No, that's it.
Martinez, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question for our captain or active chief, Perry. With this ordinance, what would it look like enforcement wise? You know, we've got code enforcement on it. We've got an officer. Well, we've got the money. Would we need to allocate more funds? Or how would that look? You know, I hear Mr. Warren talk all the time about enforcement, so that would just be a concern of mine.
We can always use more enforcement, that's for sure. An example is over the last 3 weeks, code enforcement has been focusing solely on encampments around our city. And it's been keeping us very busy, pretty much full time, making it difficult to enforce or address other code enforcement issues that we also have as well. However, and like the attorney said, you know, this does provide a framework for us to act on and to stay within case law to prevent further litigation down the road. So we think something like this is good for sure.
Thank you, sir.
Brett, the floor is yours.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This sounds like it's making it what we're doing already, a lot of what we're doing already fit what our municipal code says we're supposed to be doing. We do it, they do it, we don't do it. Code enforcement and the police department does a lot of this stuff that this spells out already. So probably saves us from potential litigation and everything that would come along with that. We're doing what we're probably already doing, make it legal, make it clear on what we can do and what we're trying to do for the community. Remember, we're doing this to help people in those situations. I know we get, sometimes people think of it the other way. But honestly, all this is done to try to help these people in these situations, get them services, et cetera, like Mr. Warren said. So it seems to me like this is just making them look a lot better for doing what we're already doing.
Yeah, well said, sir. And again, for clarification, we are aware of these case laws as well. And we are aware of the stipulations of what case law says. So we have been operating within those guidelines already, whether we have it on books or not to prevent those litigations from occurring. This just formalizes it for us.
It basically will codify, just make it the law of what practice is already occurring, because that's correct. Code enforcement is already taking steps to do clean and clear operations, and they're following the guidelines that we currently have in case law. This just memorializes it in your code.
Next time I say all that craziness, just say codify, Brett, and then I'll understand what you're talking about.
It's a good word. Captain Perry, how many encampments have you cleaned up in the last 3 weeks, if you can remember? I remember one number that came out last week. My number was 64 encampments within the matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Although since then they've increased.
They've increased, yes.
Absolutely. So I would probably say we're probably pretty close to about, at least 80 at this point.
Okay. So there's times where we're playing catch up.
Yeah, and again, make no mistake, a lot of these, they're the same people. I think somebody else spoke earlier that we're kind of chasing them in circles at times, and that's very true. We run them out of one location and they just pop up in another location, and then we run them out of that location and then they pop up in another location.
What would be the alternative if we did nothing?
Then they would just stay put, and their trash would accumulate much more than it does. And
more would come. Where, and this is just not, I don't have any particular data, but in what district do you see it the most?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say the District 1 where I live.
Yeah, I would say so.
So every time I get off on the Hatch Road exit, I see this.
Yes.
And it's probably one of the reasons why out of everybody collectively on this council, I have the most submissions.
Yeah, I would
Yes,
say so.
and also the public has been asking for months for something like this to happen. They don't understand that there was already measures happening. All we did was try to do a little bit better at it. That's why these ordinances are here today. So for the public, I hope you understand that this is something that the city council has a priority on. I can't speak for everybody. It is my priority. We won't be able to save the world. I had a meeting in Fresno with a lot of mayors for the mayor's conference. Los Angeles has 70,000 recorded homeless. I mean, it's a statewide issue. You're absolutely correct. I just don't want to ignore this issue. I don't want it to be our issue. So, but thank you, Captain. I appreciate that. And Mr. Casey, floor is yours, District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pratt, you're right. We seem to be making laws penalize people, some of them not their fault the way they are, but we're trying, our state and our federal government in their weak way of allocating money. We have a couple of organizations in Stanislaus County, but it's difficult to really get things going without the support of all the cities and county people. But we are trying to fix the problem. But you're correct in that affordable housing is something that's disappearing in the valley because people make twice as much money and drive half the distance. I mean, you know, in our census report, it says that the average income per series is $50,000, and housing accounts for 30%. That's $1,500 a month. You can't rent a car for that. But yeah, we're working on it, Mr. Pratt. It just seems that it's very slow, and then we pass these ordinances to penalize some people that can't really help being that way. But we're working on fixing the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Any additional comments from the council?
One additional thing, Mayor, to address the question regarding the third ordinance. as part of the evaluation of the municipal code to see ways to include these changes, we are still working on this ordinance. So this will be brought at a later point in time, but we didn't want to delay bringing this forward to council by holding up the entire item.
Okay. Bring this back to the council. Can we do a motion or does it have to be separate?
Two separate ones. They're two separate ordinances.
Bring this item back to the council for a motion.
Move to approve number 15A on the agenda.
Second.
Now we get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
No.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Move to approve 15B,
Second.
the agenda.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thank you very much.
And then if I may, Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank Lieutenant Johnson for your staff, for code enforcement, for all the work that they're putting in. I appreciate, they're short staffed like a lot of departments in our city are, but they're doing a phenomenal job with the resources that they have. They're working a lot of hours and I appreciate it. The city sees it. So I just wanted to make sure I voiced it. We appreciate what you guys are doing out there.
And I will reiterate what Councilmember Martinez says, because I know I can most definitely be one of those guys that's really pushing hard on this, because I hear it all the time. There's no solutions. And it really does fall on the state. And obviously, we should focus a lot on local municipal, but it would help if the state could help us out on these issues as well. Okay, so what is it about this item number C? Do we just table this? Or we're gonna open it up to the public now. We'll open up the
You
public
can
hearing
open it
and
for
then we'll
public.
talk about that. Okay, item number C, ordinance repealing section 18.28 120, overnight camping in residential, commercial, and industrial related to zone properties of chapter 18.28, special provisions of title 18, zoning, adding chapter 22, camping within city limits of title 9, public peace, safety, and morals to the Series Municipal Code, and amending title 6, chapter 1, section 6.01.160, illegal unauthorized dumping of the Series Municipal Code is now open to the public. Any members of the public would like to make a comment on this item? Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Warren, City of Ceres. There's no staff report.
I
in
think
the-
there was a reason for that, right?
And so therefore, it's hard for the citizens to look and see what proposal or what changes are going to be proposed. I was told before the meeting that this was going to be tabled and moved further down the road because of that. And so it makes it really hard unless someone's going to read the entirety of what's going to be changed versus what's already there. A lot of work, I know when Mr. Solera was involved in that portion of the council when the camping ordinance was adopted by the city a couple of years ago. And as a consideration, I know the unhoused are a terrible problem. Some of those folks bring it upon themselves and don't wish to change it. Some do. But we don't want to force those people out into our residential areas because they're being moved out of the critical areas of our infrastructure, which might be schools or properties or public utility areas and things like that. The only place that these folks are going to have to go when we close all these other places is out into our residential districts. And I'm sure the public is not going to appreciate that at all. So anyway, that's my concern, is there's no information as to what the proposed changes are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. City Attorney, was there anything in particular you want to add to that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Warren, this item is being continued. We are required to open it up for public comment because it's been noticed. But as I stated before, we are still working on this ordinance. It is not ready and we will bring it back at a later time and it will be renoticed again.
Mr. Warren, I know there's that concern about where are they going to go. The city of Modesto had just passed something last week. They have a program. I spoke to a couple of council members. They don't want us to drop them off like some other cities do. So there's a possibility that we can have an agreement with that city so we can direct some of our homeless to their programs. You can't fix everything, but the city of Sirius can't sit here and sit idle and do nothing. So that's just my personal opinion. So this item will be tabled unless there's anybody else on the audience that would like to make a comment. I'll bring this item back to the council. Rosalinda, you have the floor.
Thank you. I also have to agree with you. They recently cleaned out the containers, I guess is the official name of it. I know they do a great job on Wednesdays, code enforcement, but that did move them into the park or directly across the street from my house. I went out there and did talk to them and shared the information, luckily from my ride along with code enforcement. I knew exactly what words and terms to use. So I appreciate the time that I spent with the code enforcement officer, but yes, you're correct. When they cleaned out the containers, they moved all that stuff right into Strawberry Fields Park and they stayed there. And that, I mean, there's really not much that I'm able to do as a resident when they're living in the trees or living down in the corners, because they're cleaning out and they know that they get cleaned out on Wednesdays. So they move into the parks even now on Wednesdays. And I see them nodding in agreement that they do know that they're cleaning out those encampments now and they're doing an amazing job, but it does move them into the residential areas.
We just have to keep on it. We can't ignore the issue, but at the same time, we can't just allow them to do whatever they want. If it was any of us who were out there camping, it would probably be worse on us. So there has to be something done, which I understand where you're coming from, Rosalinda, but we have to do something. Is there anybody else on the council that'd like to make a comment? Okay. So there should be the question would be, there should be a motion to table this item or continuing? Or nothing at all?
Since there's nothing before you to
Nothing at all?
consider, we will bring it back at a later time. I don't even have a specific date yet for you to
Okay.
continue it, so we will renotice it and bring it back to you.
Okay. All right, moving on to item number 16. Public murals and creations of a mural ad hoc committee. Christopher. This one's yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff has talked with a few people regarding murals series. And this would be on private property. And this would be, the idea is that these murals would be created at the expense of the artist, or the artist would obtain a grant on their own that would pay for this. So this is at no cost to the city. Also not on city property. The idea here is to gather some input from the council on the location and the some of the content and ideas for some of these murals. Some of the artists that I've talked to like to something that represents series. So we're looking for input, really. The idea for this ad hoc committee would be. Slide, please.
No, she cannot. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's okay. Maybe we could.
There you go. Slow.
Yeah, so the idea
I
would
guess
be
you could-
two members of the council, so either mayor and a council member or two council members would review and provide recommendations for location. We'd be working with property owners. So there's a few property owners that are interested in having a mural on their site. Here's one. This is on 4th Street series in our downtown. This is a concept that shared with us. And this is another site on Mitchell Road.
Like that one.
This is a digital mock-up, so this isn't not what it actually looks like. Took a picture of the building and then they put a digital image sort of showing an idea of what the mural. Here are other examples from actual murals that were painted in Exeter, California. Escapes. These are examples from Modesto, California. I have a lot of murals. I'm sharing these with you. Some of the different concepts. Pretty much my whole patient of you.
Thank you. The public comment period is now open. I take this to the citizens. Is there any comments for the citizens on this item? Please step up, sir. Christopher, can you put that one with
uniquely
the
serious.
goddess of ag up there.
These people that are gonna be appointed, I think there should be somebody, they should draw from the community or the county or some that are into art. They have some knowledge of art and how these placements and what kind of things should be in the community that would be aesthetic for us and, and be something nice to look at if that's the case. But I think there should be some time period where they try to find someone. Maybe there's some group in our own city that has something to do with art, or Modesto or somewhere in the county, and ask them for some advice. And instead of just leaving it to a few people in the city to make a determination. And of course, bring it to the public and see what they have to say at another date. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Irene?
Irene Ortiz from Ceres. I think that this is a great idea. I did just want to provide some insight. I've done an event very similar to something like this in the past. And although it'd be really nice for the artists to be able to provide their supplies and the paint and it come out of their pocket, if you tend to put limitations on what kind of art you want to go up, that kind of art is typically paid for. So you would have to find some type of grant or some type of communication and agreement to say, hey, this is what we want. This is what, we want you to aim for as far as a reflection of Ceres, and let them kind of let their creativeness go with that. I think it's a great idea. There are artists out there that will be willing to do just that, something that reflects Ceres, the history of Ceres and stuff like that. But I would just keep that in mind, that if you do want this low cost on the city's behalf, to keep that in mind, that sometimes when you put those limitations, you don't always get what you want. But the idea as a whole is great. We've done this a couple years ago here at the Old Ceres Flea Market. There's a wall of about 150 feet, and we let the artists just kind of go wild with it. Gave them some limitations, PG, family friendly, reflection of Ceres if they were able to. And I think it was a great thing, and if you guys ever need to see pictures or want to take a look, you guys know where that market is, and it's really beautiful. So I think it would really add some character to the city and the surrounding buildings, and kind of give people something great to look at, some color into our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Anybody else? Okay, the public period is now closed. I bring this item back to the council. Rosalinda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I do know Modesto has a grant to fund theirs. I don't know if that grant's still open. They do have a great downtown. I do like the idea. I kind of, in line with what Irene said, with some basic guidelines and limitations, but not making it overly restrictive. So we still have some creativity and blending of what everyone sees Ceres, I'm sure, differently, and loves different aspects of the city. And I would love to see those different aspects in these different designs. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Martinez, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what Irene and Councilmember Vieira said. I think it's a good idea. I would like to participate on this committee. I noticed that both locations provided in our packet tonight are both in my district. So we haven't decided on a location, but just off of that alone, I'd like to be one of the ones participating. I don't know if there's anyone else who'd like to be the second.
Okay, so I would like to participate, but I'll make a suggestion. What if we allowed Irene to participate in this with myself and maybe you, if the council is okay with that?
Does it have to be 5 people on the committee? What's the cap number of people?
You can have any amount of people you want.
Yeah, so whomever, yeah, if it's just you, if the council approves, that's what I'm saying. Irene, are you busy? Okay, I'm waiting. I was waiting for that. Okay, but before we decide, I'm gonna, Casey had it next, sir. Casey, the floor is yours.
Turn the mic on. I think this is a great idea. Somewhere in my garage, I have a copy of Look Magazine. Look Magazine was before Facebook. And it has the article about the mural that's on the building that we have here in Ceres. When that was drawn, I lived in Turlock, and it really brought the attention to Ceres. I think it's a great idea. Bottom line, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, the floor is yours.
So I may be in the minority here, it looks like it, but I will never vote no on something without explaining. I don't think the city should get in the mural painting business. I think that should be up to the private businesses and what they want to do with their building. It's just not something the city should get into. And definitely if it costs us any money at all, we should not be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, I'll bring this back.
I'll make a motion that myself, Mayor Lopez, and Ms. Ortiz be
The committee. Second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Mr. Mayor, someone has,
Yeah, well, the public period is it's already closed.
okay. It's closed. Okay, then, yes.
Mr. Warren, thank you, but the public period is not closed. There's a motion on the floor that we have to do a roll call, so we can go back.
Is there a question? Sounds like there may be some.
I just want to clarify, do we need to open it up to have consideration for more from the public to participate? Or is it that we set the number at 3, that's what we're choosing?
And
Hold on, Mr. Warren, hold on. He's asking a question. Let him get his answer.
ad hoc committees are the creation discretion of the council. I'll remind the council that your last ad hoc committee was completely comprised by a mix of council members and already selected members of the public.
Mhm.
So this would be in line with your past practice, but it's up to the council on how you wish to create an ad hoc committee. It's for a limited purpose. It
Right.
cannot contain 3 or more of you.
This is keeping in line with what we've done in the past.
Yep.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, can we have an
Yes.
ending date on this ad hoc committee?
A date
Ending date.
and any date, ending date, we should only have at least, 2 meetings? What do you mean by an ending date?
Well, you're going to form an ad hoc committee, and one of the things we talked about in our procedures workshop was, we have some ad hoc committees that are indefinite, and we should.
Oh, yeah,
end them. And so
okay,
we
that
need
makes
to
sense.
have an ending date of when this ad hoc committee is no longer a committee.
We'll sunset it, what? 3 months? 3 months,
Thank you.
3 months.
There is a motion and a second on the table right now.
That's correct. Roll call, please. Well, actually, the roll call was ongoing, actually, so he voted yes, correct?
Councilmember Vieira,
I just want to confirm, it's just for those 3 people and not opening it to the public. Is
That's
that
correct.
Okay, so then no.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Nope.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes,
motion passes 3-2.
thank you very much. Okay. I think that is it. Is there any council member referrals? Rosalinda, I'll go to you first, just in case you have 5 or 6.
I do not have any referrals today. I think it was addressed during public comments, and I also emailed that already.
Okay, awesome. We will go to reports. I have no reports. Moving on. Yes, sir.
Okay, I have 2 things to report. The first one is on our dispatch at 911. Unfortunately, or fortunately, where you want to look at it, I had someone at my house Saturday, and I had to call 911. And of course, I used my cell phone, so I had to go to Highway Patrol, and then it was sent to our dispatch. And so for 8 minutes, our dispatcher talked to the person and the person's daughter, calmed them down, treated them with great deal of respect, and kept asking questions. They did an excellent job. And the person fainted, came to go, and the dispatcher said they're on their way, they're on their way. And she was looking so much forward to the fire department showing up because she's a longtime resident. And she knew that she would know some of the firemen. But unfortunately, the fire department didn't show up. It was AMR. And by the time AMR did all their stuff and things, then the fire department showed up. But all was good with the dispatch. They, that day, that 8 minutes, they certainly earned their pay. My second report is, we've heard earlier in the meeting about the banners. Thank you to the city for putting them up. It was unfortunate that the way things happened, and we had people speak earlier. I had a note that I was asked to read at the report, and the essence of the report is this. We had a committee. I was the representative, of course, for the city, and the committee met and had some rules and regulations. And the question is, this goes back to you, Mr. Mayor, what was the purpose of the committee? We met, we agreed, we had a plan for placement, we established rules, and then somehow or another, all those rules and plans were avoided. There was no input by the city, any questions asked of the committee, and the question now before the city council, the city attorney, we were just a committee. What is the proper procedure for the committee to follow to resign and dissolve the committee? That's my report. It was a great thing that happened, and it shows a lot of respect, and it's unfortunate in the manner in which was taking place. But you could give us the direction on how to resign from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, Rosalind, I thought you had said you had not. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That was for referrals. My apologies.
Do I have the floor, sir?
No, you do not have the floor, sir. Sorry about that. Rosalinda, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mine will be brief, Martinez. I've been working on possible solutions or some possibilities for housing. I've worked with a couple developers, also worked with the county with Stanislaus Affordable Housing as well as Stanislaus Behavioral House. I've also spoke with the city manager about some of these proposals that may be coming forward, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of this be moved into the future. As for the community, I'm working with the county supervisor, Condit, as well as Stanislaus Garden Club to create a hummingbird garden in front of the Ceres library. We're in our final steps of completion. It looks like we already have an agreement signed, and I look forward to hopefully having more information on that and possibly a opening date. I know there are some concerns with the garden club, which we'll be following up on. And then lastly, we did have a meeting, or more Doug had the meeting with the downtown street team with Ruben Imperial. We are going to have an upcoming meeting regarding the next step and possibly at least getting a couple slots for the people who are homeless or those that are almost unhoused completely that are looking at trying to transition into housing through the downtown street team. But that's still in the works. We've had a couple meetings with the county, and we look forward to future discussions on that.
Thank you, Rosalinda. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that I brought this up since this is our last meeting for the month of November. Saturday, December 2nd will be our Christmas tree parade and Christmas tree lane lighting event. It's going to be here at the community center again from 4 to 6 p.m. Yet again, I've got the pleasure of playing Santa Claus. I'm looking forward to that. 7 p.m. will be our parade. The city's got applications online right now. If you're interested, if you have a car club, if you own a small business, if you want to participate in the parade, please do. Let's try and get this parade a little larger than the 8 vehicles and a trolley we had last year. You know, and we have great community. It was pouring down rain and the roads were packed. There were still people out there participating. The event went off flawlessly. Joey, community development or community staff did a great job. So I just wanted to make sure, since this is our last meeting before that event, that I mentioned that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, floor is yours.
Yeah, so tomorrow is an exciting day. We are very close to pumping water into the city of Ceres from the Stanislaus Regional Water Authority. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. out at the plant is the ribbon cutting ceremony. So we were probably a month and a half to 2 months seeing water come down that pipe along Hatch Road that we've been waiting for. For those of you that don't know, this I believe is the single largest capital improvement project in Stanislaus County history. And we are a third of every bit of it, and we're excited to have that fresh, clean water from the river that's being cleaned and into our community tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Awesome. Thank you very much. City attorney or city manager, sir, any reports?
I have nothing to report.
City manager? Any of the department heads have any reports? Sam?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to share one thing that I want to elaborate on of the Vice Mayor's surface water ribbon cutting ceremony. That he took my line, which is fine. The second thing I wanted to share with council member is it's been 20 years in the making. We finally have our surface water delivered at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Wow, congratulations.
So we're up and running.
It's a round of applause right there. Good stuff. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Okay, anybody from the county or the state? I see nobody. Okay, that is it. This meeting is adjourned. We are going into closed session. Thank you.
Yep, public comment.
And we need to open this up for public comment for closed sessions. Any members of the public would like to make a comment or question?
Please read the.
Read the whole thing? All right, ma'am, let's go. Conference of the Labor's Negotiators, California Government Code 54957.6A. Agency does not designated representative interim city manager Douglas D. Dunford and Human Resources Director Delilah Vasquez. Employee Organization, Serious Police Officer Association, Employees Organizations, First Line Supervisors, Confidential Bargaining Group, Employee Organization, Laborers International Union of the North America, LIUNA, Employees Organization, Mid Managers Bargaining Group, Employer Organization, Public Safety Managers. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. There is no action. Thank you.